I don't have my lighting or my tripod like I normally do. I'll explain all that in a minute. Okay. This is more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Maybe. There we go. All right, that's gonna have to work. All right. Okay, guys, so welcome to the June 2023 live stream. I did have to push it back. Thank you for the 8 people who were waiting in the lobby, waiting to be let in. This was originally scheduled for 3 p.m. I had to push it back to 3:30. I was running late, and then apparently I'm still running late, but I don't have a way when I change the time to notify you guys, because I can post in the community tab, but I can only do that from desktop. Oh, we who are about to die salute you. I just saw your comment. By the way, guys, I'm going to start at the top of the comments and I'm going to work my way down. I'm just going to reply to his right now because I just saw it. So 2 things going on here with the audio. One is I'm in a conference room, and this is acoustic paneling, but it doesn't do like a complete job or anything. It's just better than if it was the bare concrete walls. And also there is like an HVAC system in here. So what you're hearing is the air conditioning. There's a vent like right above me. So I actually thought I was gonna have this place basically to myself today. I thought it would probably be a better setup than my car like we had last month. But I walked in here, I was kind of surprised. Apparently there's like a graduation party going on upstairs, and there are a ton of people here. So I don't know what time they're gonna clear out. They probably aren't gonna be down here. I'm in the downstairs in the basement. So we'll just have to deal with whatever happens. Might even have to move at some point, and there will probably be some noise. I can at least hear them walking around up there, and there's probably gonna be music. But, well, you guys know I live out of my car, so not gonna be the best setup. So what I'm doing here, I am bringing up the same live stream that you guys are on my computer. I've got it over here. I'm filming on my phone over here. And that way I can just start at the top of the comments list, and I can kind of work my way down. Just before we get into that, I want to thank the 2 of you this week who have joined my Patreon. There's a link to that down in the description of the video. I have not had any patrons for the last 2 years. When I got behind in 2021, when all that stuff happened, everybody stopped subscribing, which I mean, I understand, because I wasn't putting out any videos, and the main benefit was to get access to the videos 24 hours early. But last week, after I put out my vlog, somebody did subscribe, and then just maybe 10 minutes ago, I got a notification that somebody else subscribed. So to those 2 of you, I will be sending out introductory emails. They both subscribed at the $1 level. The $1 is literally just to support me. You don't get a whole lot from it other than I follow you back on social media. So those people will be receiving an email, hopefully sometime this week, from me thanking them for joining, and also just having them send me their social media handles so I can follow them. And I just saw another comment pop up. Now I am getting to that. I don't know if this sound's gonna go the whole time or if it's gonna cycle on and off. Oh, and I do have some good news for you guys. Since you guys did like the vlog, and since people actually watched it, because like I said, I've had issues in the past where people wanted them and I filmed them and then like nobody watched. But since you guys liked it and did actually watch it, I already have a second one filmed. I did something last night and this morning that I think you guys will find interesting. So it's already filmed. I'm gonna say probably sometime in July that's gonna go up, seeing as how it took me a month to edit the last one. But just know that there is another one coming. My computer decides now is the time to update. I should be able to get around it though. Oh, another comment. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm almost into the live stream here, and once I'm in here, I'll definitely get back to everybody's comments, just like basically in order. Oh, guys, drink of the day again is Diet Pepsi. I've had very little caffeine today, so you're probably going to see me go through a lot of this today. Almost there. All right, thank you for the 20 people who are here. I appreciate you guys all being here. That's a pretty large number for us to start out with. It usually grows as we stream for longer. So basically, this is the live stream for us to just hang out, and you guys can ask me questions for June. I do have some more videos coming. As you guys know, I'm working a ton, and the lawsuit is my only other priority. But of course, I want to continue growing the channel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue staying in contact with you guys by doing the monthly live streams. I am still trying to get on the schedule of posting one video a month, so that I'm creating some content. But the vlog doesn't count toward that. That was just something you guys asked me to do, and I did just to see how it would work. And then what I'm planning on doing roughly once a month or so is also making a vlog about living in my car. Not in general, but just like specific topics about living in my car. Like I said, I just have the one filmed that'll probably be up in July. I've got a couple more content ideas for that'll probably be like August and September. And then I still want to make that video I promised you guys for May. That is, well, right before I got kicked out of the apartment for the April live stream. You guys said that you wanted a video, and I asked on my community tab which one it was going to be, and it was going to be about the investment that I've been talking about for years. I've not made the video yet, but it's on my list to do this week, like to sit down and actually film that video. Now, God only knows when that video is actually going to go up, because it takes a lot of time and effort for me to get to the point of actually filming, but then it also takes me forever to find the time to edit it. So it's going to be filmed this week. I don't really have any idea right now when it's going to go live, is what I'm saying. That said, though, there will be videos in July, because I'm going to have to, when June ends, do my 6-month update for the financial goals for this year. And then I need to make my video about my student loans. My paperwork and stuff is all kind of jumbled and stashed in various places because of moving around so much and now living in my car. So I might not have like all the details, especially seeing as how this is going to have to cover like 3 years now, since I haven't been able to make those yearly update videos for a while. But in general, I'll still tell you where things are with my student loans and like some of the updates that have happened. All right, I swear, guys, I'm still bringing this up. It's taking forever, but it's supposed to be loading right now. I kind of wonder if I can turn that off. Yeah, I don't know. We might figure that out later. I might run outside and see if I can shut that off, because it's just running constantly. All right. So I did see another comment about student loans. I will talk a little bit about that. Probably talk more about it in my video with my student loan updates. Um, Basically what it boils down to is it's gonna be nice if we get, I will definitely get the 20,000, if they do the 10,000 and the 20,000 for the super poor people. I'll definitely get the 20,000. That honestly might not help me a whole lot. It will look good in my net worth, but I don't know practically how much it's going to help. It depends a lot on how they apply it and whether they give you an option as to how it's applied to the loans. So depending on how they do that, it can actually make either a huge permanent difference, or it might make like kind of a temporary difference that in the long run means nothing, because it's just going to build back up with interest. Okay, sorry guys. I'm going to go check on this air conditioner blowing situation while this finishes loading. I should be back in like 2 minutes. Okay, so I just went and turned it off. It clearly hasn't stopped blowing yet, so we'll see if it does. It may just have to finish the cycle out. I might have to turn it back on later if it gets super hot down here. But I see the comments coming, guys. I'm sorry, I can't, you know what? Maybe I can get to them from the phone. There it goes. Okay. All right, let's start at the top here until my computer starts working. Sandra says, hi all. Neolithic says, hi Sandra. Hi Neo. Yep, we were about to die. Salute you. You are here on time. Finally getting the comments 13 minutes into the stream. Sorry about that. Okay, Nicktown says hello. Hey, what's up? Hey, I see you've got your Ohio State Block O. Are you in Columbus? We were about to die. Salute. Yeah, I mentioned this. Background sounds like a suspenseful scene in a movie. So hopefully, other than the echo, hopefully that's taken care of now. Neolithic says, how do you set up your bed in the car? Is it comfortable? Well, it's not as comfortable as like a real regular bed, but like it's acceptable, I guess. The first couple of nights that I slept in the car, I just slept in the driver's seat with the seat like leaned back, so almost kind of like a recliner. It's not like the most comfortable thing. After I cleared out the back seat, so I have a Subaru and it's a hatchback, so the rear seats fold forward so they're flat, and then you've got the hatch. So I actually have my bed laid out in the hatch, and on one side I have like my gym bag and some storage stuff, and then I have the other side, my bed completely laid out. So my pillow is up against like the hatch door, and then I have a camping mat. It's a long story. I had this from when I worked in Idaho, but it's not great, but it's better than sleeping on just the hard surface. That lays out, and then I actually have like real bed sheets that I used to put on my futon, because when you would fold the futon down, it fit a twin set of sheets. So I actually have the actual fitted sheet that goes around the camping mat. And then I just have like an actual flat sheet and like an actual duvet, or well, it doesn't have a cover on it, but it's like the fluffy part of the duvet. that I use as a blanket. And so those just lay on top of the camping mat. It's basically a makeshift bed. I do get to stretch out. The only thing is, the car is not long enough for me to stretch all the way out, so my feet end up going between the driver and the passenger seat onto the armrest. So my head is like at the back of the hatch, and then I'm spread out with my feet between the front seats. I mean, I guess it works, but yeah, I'm sure it looks weird. Okay, my computer slowly is getting there. Okay, I'm just scrolling back through the comments here. I don't know what they're doing upstairs. You guys can probably hear that. Sounds like they're dragging furniture around. Okay, the next comment is, "We who are about to die salute you," says, "Where do you stash all your clothes and belongings that you had to move out from your prior apartments and the recent house rent? I guess storage unit, but what about on hand in the car?" Okay, so that's a lot of different things. Clothes and belongings. Okay, so what you guys might not realize is that I've basically been living out of a suitcase since July of 2021. The reason for that is I was supposed to move to North Carolina in August of 2021, but in early July, I was supposed to take a big road trip with a girl for her birthday. So we had everything booked, Airbnb, hotel, rental car, and I packed my suitcase of all the clothes I would need for the trip. And also like toiletries and basic stuff. We didn't end up going, and at that point I was like, well, I gotta move out of this house in 3 weeks, so there's no point really in me unpacking. So I just left the suitcase on the floor, and I basically just lived out of that while I ended up packing up all the other furniture and stuff. So that leads into the next part of the answer, is that all the furniture that I had in that apartment that I lived in until near the end of 2020, that went to storage. There were a couple items that went in my mom's storage unit because there wasn't enough room in mine, but most of it went to my storage. But then some of the items from both of those got moved to Morgantown in December of 2022. Okay, it was 2021 I moved out of the apartment. 2022 it moved. No, oh my God, I'm so confused. 2021 at the end, I moved out of this apartment and moved stuff to Morgantown. Into 2021, beginning of 2022. Okay, so then that stuff moved to Morgantown, but then I had to be out by the end of March 2022. So, and I didn't have any place to go. And even though at the last minute I lined up the room that I got in Athens, I didn't have a place to put the furniture because I went from having an entire apartment, even though it was in the fraternity house, to a very tiny room. So everything went back to one of the two storage units. And then from there, it went, well, it's basically stayed there. I didn't move really anything into the room in Athens. And originally that wasn't, I mean, I didn't plan on staying more than like a year probably. And I didn't want the hassle of, and the expense of running a truck again, doing all the moving, and then having to move it out at the end. What I ended up doing was I had a folding chair that I moved in, and I had an air mattress that I slept on for like an entire year, except for the part where like it exploded and then I slept on the floor for a few months, but I did eventually get another one. I had very few items of clothing. Basically, the capsule wardrobe, which was basically what I had in that suitcase after the trip from July 2021. Um, and then when I moved out of the apartment in the middle of the night, I took the necessities that night and I tossed a few things in storage after that. And then a few days later, I went back with the police and I got all of my stuff out. And some of that stuff was not stuff I needed to have in the car. One was like a furniture dolly, and I have like 2 gasoline cans and stuff. So that stuff went to storage. And a few other random items. But for the most part, everything has stayed in the car because I didn't have that many items to begin with. And it really all stems from her not going on that trip in July of 2021. Now, I think the computer is finally working now, so let me scroll back up here and answer the rest of your question. Oh, okay, you said clothes. Okay, so what I'm gonna eventually have to do, because it's hard to describe all this in words, I'm gonna just have to do a rig tour of my car. Like, if you look in it, you're like, oh my God, it's a disaster in there. But it is actually organized, despite what it looks like. Everything has a place, everything has like a little storage area where it goes. It just doesn't look good. But my clothes, because I have so few, what I do is I have a plastic bag, like a shopping bag from Kroger. And when I go to the laundromat, all of the clothes that I have fit in there. Just in one. I don't know how they're moving furniture that much. All right. Well, anyway, so I also was gonna film this upstairs. There's a smaller conference room. This one seats 4 people. There's one that's literally just for one person. It's soundproofed and it's supposed to be for like taking phone calls. But it was so loud up there with them doing that I had to come down here. Okay, so anyway, basically, all of the clothes that I have, all my socks, t-shirts, a couple pairs of pants, it all fits in one little plastic shopping bag. And it has a place in the corner by the hatch. My car has these little clips on the side of the hatch where there's supposed to be a cargo net. And I just put the handles on the little clip, and that keeps it from flying around the car and keeps it in place. And that's where all the clothes are kept. I do also have a laundry bag. So basically, when I change clothes at the gym, it goes in the little side zipper pocket where my shower shoes go. And then when I take all that out, then it goes in the laundry bag, which is behind the driver's seat in the wheel well. Well, that's not quite what it's called. You know, it's the hole where you put your feet if you were sitting in the back seat, but the back seats are folded down, but still there's area to store stuff down there. So that's where the laundry bag sits, and that's where that goes. Okay. So that was a lot. That's why I'm saying I'm gonna have to make a video about the inside because it's hard to like put in words. Okay, Nicktown, are you looking for a place to live around Columbus? Yes and no. Eventually, yes. For right now, no. When all this happened, I needed to find a place to live, and I didn't have any money saved because of everything that's been going on. I've saved up some money, but not nearly enough to get into a place with a security deposit and a first month rent. I decided to save money by just through the summer at least, and maybe into the fall and until it gets cold, which in Ohio sometimes is September and sometimes is January, so you never know. But so I don't know exactly what the timeline is, but by the time that it gets cold, I want to have the money to get into a place. But I'm actually choosing not to at this time. And I do have a place in mind that when I do need to go, that I want to move to. I've already toured it. I kind of explained my situation, so it's just, well, one, getting the money first, but then also once I get the money, I'm going to hold out as long as I can and still sleep in my car to save as much money as possible before I have to be housed again and just like kind of being tethered to all those bills. We were about to die salute. You says you could always do a video vlog and live stream per month. Yeah, I don't want to hold myself solidly to that because that like the channel cannot be my priority this month, and I know if I say I'm going to do that, it's not going to happen. So my only two focuses can be making money and the lawsuit. But it is possible that I could still get those 3 videos done per month. In the back of my mind, that might be what I try for, but I know I also can't promise it, and I definitely can't do it consistently. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is like 1 filmed and edited video, 1 vlog video, which all those topics are going to be about like me living in my car. And then, yeah, the regular live stream. Justin says the Supreme Court announces their decision on student loans this week. Yes, so it was supposed to have happened already, and now they're saying Tuesday. It's kind of like an interesting thing because, like, the one dude, the one Supreme Court justice, everybody knows now that he like went on this trip with the guy who's like sponsoring the lawsuit. But then at the same time, there's a big question about whether the companies that are suing even have standing to sue. And that's the only thing standing in the way of this. So interestingly, like a lot of the decisions that they released last week had to do with standing, and the rulings that they made were stating that the people bringing the cases did not have standing. So it's leaning toward maybe they're going to find that the people who sued did not have standing to bring the suit, and that's then the only impediment. Because we got to remember, what they're deciding is not whether what Biden did is legal or not. It's whether the people who brought the lawsuit saying it wasn't legal have standing to even take that to court. So that's what they're going to be deciding, I think, on Tuesday. If that happens, if it's approved, I will try to make a video just on that, because I'll have to like bring up my student loan site and show you guys like how exactly this will be applied to my loans, because as I said earlier, depending on how they apply this, it could either make basically no difference for me, or it can make a huge difference. And from everything that I've read about this, it's really unclear about whether me or anybody as the person who's getting this is actually going to have much of a choice of how it's applied. And so just depending on how they decide to apply it is going to determine whether it's something to be excited about or not. Neolithic says, can you do an impromptu storyline right now to tell us a bit about the fraternity and why/how you left that job? Well, I mean, kind of, yeah. So that's one of those videos that like eventually is coming, and it's going to have a lot of pictures in it of things that happen along the way, some little snippets of video, like vlog style video that I took, walkthroughs of the house, stuff like that. So I want to put all the details in there, but yeah, essentially what happened with the fraternity job is I got hired for that in early 2021. when I was in a really good place, and the girl and I were in a really good place, and then we were supposed to start the job in August. She was having issues. I don't even know what the issues were. I think part of them were about moving, part was her family. I don't know what was going on. But she kept asking me to to put it off and put it off, and kept promising me she was gonna go. Then of course she ghosted me, and I didn't know that. Like, if she would have broken up with me and just been like, "Hey, I'm not going," then I would have made the decision of like, "Okay, I'm going without you," or I would just tell the fraternity, "Okay, well, I can't really go without her." I don't know what direction I would have taken with that, but with me not knowing that she wasn't going, I kept waiting for her to tell me that she was ready to go. So they eventually fired me. They understood why, though. They understood the relationship part, and they didn't hold it against me. And in fact, I was fired September 14th, 2021, and by the first week of October, so literally 3 weeks later, they reached out and offered me the same position at WVU, which was still about 2 hours away from where I was living. This position even paid $200 more per month. So I went ahead and took it, still waiting to hear back from her, still thinking in terms of, she was eventually going to come. And I took that job, and the thing is, okay, so to make this as quick as I can, basically, there were only about 10 house directors. We have 200 chapters. And eventually, every chapter is going to have a house director. But the ones that were getting house directors first were the chapters that were either very large chapters that had their shit together, right? But because they were so big, they needed this help from an adult staff member on site. Or like WVU, that are complete shit shows. Just imagine the movie Animal House, but imagine that, those guys were cool, right? They did pranks, they were drunk all the time, but essentially, they were fairly cool guys. Just imagine that type of environment where everything is trashed, everything is just extreme and wild all the time, but all of them are complete assholes. That's what the situation was. And so I tried to be cool. I went in with no intentions of trying to interfere with their parties or anything, and they just didn't give me even a chance. They just honestly, somebody mentioned that it was like the movie Neighbors, or you know what I'm talking about. I don't know the movie, but it was where they're in their 30s, but then a fraternity moves in next door, and all the tension between them. It was like that. Yeah, but anyway, so that's what happened. It continued to happen. Part of my job was telling the national fraternity what was going on there, and I was just like, I don't have any control over this. There's nothing I can do. They, they continue to trash the house. I can't get things repaired fast enough for them. The shit they were. Oh, somebody fed a plastic bag through this thing that then shut off hot water for the entire house. Someone threw a propane tank through my window so I didn't have heat all winter because it took months to get somebody out to do a window. They kept taking the damn door off, the actual door to the house. I don't know. So it was just constantly something like that. Of course, the fraternity did not tell me that the house was condemned when I moved into it, so that was a whole other issue. But I mean, to be fair, the fraternity did try to. They tried to fix it. They flew 2 people in from nationals and had them stay for several days to try to fix the situation. But in the end, they were just like, "Yeah, we don't really see any solution." And They gave a few more weeks after that, but it got to the point where, um, like, the president was trying to fight me, and, um, I mean, I got a call from our executive director and at Nationals, and he just basically said it wasn't safe for me to be there, um, because everything had just escalated, and the guys just absolutely would not cooperate. And I was on all these like three-way FaceTimes with the chapter leadership and with my boss, and my boss would be like, dude, he's being cool. He's not shutting down your parties. You guys are selling drugs out of the house, all this stuff. He doesn't care. But like, you've got to let him do his job. Like, and they just, no, they just wouldn't. So it didn't matter how cool I was with them. They just did not want me there. And I don't know. I mean, they told me that they were going to bring somebody in that was like a hard ass that was going to bring them under control. From what I've seen on Instagram, I don't think that happened. I think that they have continued to get in trouble. So that's kind of that story. I can tell it in a lot more detail, and also with like pictures and video and all that stuff, so you guys can actually see the situation. And I can do that whenever I actually am able to make that video. We who are about to die salute you. I'm going to be biased and state that the forgiveness is not coming. The House is Republican and the judiciary is Republican. I actually did the refund thing, but then paid it back off. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't happen. But at this point, it's not the legislature, meaning like the legislative branch, like the Senate and the House. It's not up to them at this point. It's the court, which I agree, yes, it's a majority Republican. At the same time, the same court has made some rulings that are pretty progressive, like was it McGurk v. Oklahoma, where they recognize the sovereignty of a lot of the Indian nations, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. And I already kind of expect it could go either way, and I'm not getting excited about it. And like I keep saying, I don't even know if it's beneficial to me, just because of the way my federal loans are a bunch of separate little loans, and I don't know how much it's going to actually help, because like the one, it's a whole bunch of small loans. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in my student loan video, but it used to be one giant one that was like $32,000. And that was a combination of like 15 smaller loans that somehow got grouped together into one loan. And then there was like another smaller loan like that too, where it technically was a whole bunch of smaller loans that they combined. I didn't ask them to combine any of these, they just did. And then there was a third one that was like $1,900, but I paid that off in 2016. But the thing is, even before COVID, when I was making payments on it, I would make the payments so I was in good standing, knowing that after 20 years or 25 years or whatever it is, that it would be forgiven. But like looking at the projections of like what I was paying and what the interest rate was and what the amount owed was, the payments I was making really was only to keep it in good standing. It wasn't making any impact on the loan. Like, it kept growing. And that was before COVID. My interest rates on my loans are fucking astronomical. I haven't looked for a couple months, but the one loan, like the $32,000 one, is like 15%. Like, it was already high before COVID, but now that all the interest rates have raised, it is some ridiculous number. And I actually have this spreadsheet that like kind of shows how it'll change over the years and with your payments and everything. And it says that by the time my loans with the government are forgiven after the 20 years or 25 years, I'll actually owe on my federal loans something like $700,000. And of course, that's going to be forgiven because it's going to get to that year limit. But I mean, what the hell? Like, yeah, yeah, and that's based on it's no more than like $50,000 right now. I think it's less than that. But like in like 10 or 15 years, it's supposed to be up to that high, and it's because of the interest rate, and it's because that the payment they have me making back when before payments were paused, it doesn't cover the interest that's accruing, which already had high interest and now is like triple the interest rate it was. So it's weird because my private loans have kind of become unmanageable because the interest rates have skyrocketed on those too. And then that's why my minimum payment has increased by about $200 a month on those. But, those are the ones that are supposed to be predatory. But in reality, it's the government loans that are way worse. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nick Town says just an F, not much confidence on that, sadly. Yeah, that would be my assumption too. I mean, if it happens, great. And then I'll have to figure out if it helps me much or not. If it doesn't happen, it's kind of like, yeah, that's pretty much what I figured. We Were About to Die Salute You says, Great Lakes wanted to transfer my loans to Nelnet. Yes, they did transfer mine. I've had Great Lakes since I graduated college. And so that's been 11 years now. Just within the last month or two, they transferred mine. It's all screwed up. I am having trouble getting into the Nelnet site. Great Lakes closed all my loans, and that screwed up my credit. Like my credit, I got all these credit alerts, and then Nelnet opened a bunch, and then that screwed it up even more. So like basically my credit score went down like 100 points when Great Lakes closed all my accounts. But then it went down like another, I think it was like between 50 and 75 points when all the balances came back on Nelnet. I didn't even check to see if they're right. I can't get logged into the website. It's a mess. So whatever. That's just on the list of things I got to figure out. By the way, I'm reading through the comments. I'm not, you guys are free to talk amongst yourselves. I'm just probably not going to read those out loud if you're not talking to me. Not sure what more Biden can do on that front. There's just a lot of discussion in the comments about the student loans. Okay, We Who Are About to Die Salute You says, fast food places. Anyone seeing those new state ketchup packets? Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't know what you were talking about, but yeah, I saw them yesterday. I don't remember where. I think you're talking about Heinz is doing those. I didn't really pay attention to them. I just noticed. Yeah, I just noticed that. I think it was when I was doing DoorDash last night in Athens. Okay, so Sandra said, oh, crap. So Sandra says, hope you keep your files and docs all backed up and kept safe. taxes, receipts, court docs, etc. Because of the temporary moves and living situation, losing stuff is the worst. Yeah, I get so frustrated when I lose things, but I'm actually, despite my situation, I'm actually very organized, even in my situation, which when I make that tour of my rig, you guys will see, I actually have basically a filing system in the car. I have these giant Ziploc bags that organize documents into like separate things, and I have a place for those. So yeah, I'm keeping track of my business taxes. The court stuff has its own place. And let's see. Yeah, so that all stuff I'm on top of. Justin says they might let the more lenient terms through. I think it would just be the flat 10 to 20,000 forgiveness that gets shot down. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess that would be okay too. Like, if they don't forgive any of the loans and they just make the interest rates reasonable and like I think Biden was going to cut the payments in half or something. Like whatever they determined was your monthly payment, that was going to be halved. Like that would be fine with me. I mean, that would be better than nothing. So, yeah. Nick Town says, oh, no, we who haven't seen those yet. Sounds bad for those of us who like some fries with our ketchup. Nick Town, True Sandra, I have an accordion file with all my important stuff. Yeah. It's been through a lot of moves and luckily survived. TM USA, hey. Heimberg, better late than never. I'll listen to the recording to get caught up. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, this is, well, what time? Oh, it's 4:17. All right, we're only 45 minutes in, so we usually go for at least a couple hours, so maybe you'll get caught up by then. Chris, okay, so Chris says, can you expand on the lawsuit? I'm assuming you're meaning my lawsuit that I filed. I can, yeah. Give me a minute, because that's like a whole thing to go into. Okay, let's go. So in November of 2022, I filed a lawsuit against my ex. There's 12 counts. I'm not going to go over all of them here, but essentially, she filed a bunch of false accusations against me and got a restraining order. She was able to get a restraining order because the court didn't hold hearings like it was supposed to. And you know, if I would have been able to tell my story and present evidence, I would have won. There's no, she didn't present any evidence, so pretty cut and dry there. But through that court hearing, I also found out about a lot more stuff that had happened that I didn't know about. Technically crimes that she committed against me, which I will be pursuing. There were more people that she defamed me to than I even knew existed. And I just kept finding out more and more and more. And so I wanted to address all of those. What I asked for when I was appealing, when I appealed to the circuit court and then when I appealed to the state Supreme Court, I wasn't asking for the restraining order to be overturned. I was asking for it to go back to family court so we could have a proper hearing, so that I could present my evidence, so that I could say what I needed to say, and so that I could cross-examine her. So I wasn't talking to her anyway. So It bothered me that there was a restraining order put against me when I didn't deserve that, and that, that does stay on your record, and you can see that, and my gun rights are taken away and things like that. It's certainly going to hurt me with employment and my reputation, but like that wasn't as big a deal to me as just the fact that, um, she just went in there, said what she had to say, and they were just like, okay, and would not even listen to anything from me. And like I said, in the process of all of that, I found out about a whole bunch more things that she did very wrong against me. So after I found out that they were not going to do anything about it, through the appeals process of appealing the restraining order, now that I knew about these other things, now I had to do something about it. She chose court as the arena rather than just talking about problems like normal people. So that was what I did. I took her to court over the things she did. And like I said, I'm not going into every part of it, but essentially what I'm suing for is defamation, several different counts in several different instances that she brought up of that happening. And then abuse of process, which is where you basically use the court system as a weapon against someone. You use it maliciously. And also intentional infliction of emotional distress. That's 2 different counts of that for 2 different situations that happened. So that's what the lawsuit is about. We are pretty much, so it has come over some hurdles. If the judge didn't think it had merit, he could have dismissed it, or he could have dismissed any one of the 12 counts, and he didn't do that. She filed to have it dismissed, which I won, meaning that she lost. The judge is like, no, we're not dismissing this. And again, he could have dismissed part of it if he wanted to, and he didn't. Her attorney has been pretty much very uncooperative in answering questions during the discovery process, and I did have to take him in front of the judge. I won part of that and I lost part of that. But I think, I'm proving my point of, look, just answer the damn questions like you're supposed to. And so we're at the point now where I'm probably going to have to take her back to court one more time because of the last batch of written discovery that's not answered properly. But once that's clear, and maybe even while we're waiting to go to the hearing on that, we are switching over to oral discovery. So we're at the point now where I'm going to start doing depositions. And that means I subpoena somebody, and they're required legally to come sit down and talk to me in front of a court reporter and answer questions. And the problem is she's brought so many people into this that, it's literally everybody from her best friend to her mom to her gynecologist. That's not exaggeration. I have to depose her gynecologist to hospital employees. It's ridiculous. Police officers, how many people that she has just involved in this whole situation. And so I have to sit down with each one of them and ask them questions about what went on, what did she say to you, and what was the sequence of events that led to this. And that way, most of these same people are also going to be called as witnesses at the trial. So I get answers beforehand, essentially, and just like everything else that's come before, it's just going to turn up more incriminating stuff about her. Her attorney did ask me to settle at the end of April. I kind of asked, basically I said, I will consider doing that under certain circumstances, and it needs to be after I do the depositions. He told me he would get back to me. It's been 2 months, and he has not gotten back to me about whether she's going to agree to settle. So I don't know if that means she didn't agree to settle, but he also hasn't answered any of my other communication either. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but so that's what's going on with that. Basically, the rest of the summer, I have from now until it's about the end of November to do all my depositions. There are a few other things that come up before the trial, and the trial is in February of 2024. But by the time I do all the depositions, I'll basically have all my answers. Now, her attorney did also mention to me that he does want to do mediation, which surprised me because in January when we were in court, he said he didn't. He didn't think it'd be helpful in this case. So, but that's where we are. And yeah, I don't know. That's where it's at. I've got a few written things I've still got to follow up on. Those are hopefully going to be done this week. And then hopefully, well, definitely within the next month, I should be doing the depositions. And it's just going to be sitting down with these people. I mean, like when I do hers, like, yes, it's going to be hostile because she's going to be that way. But most of these people don't know me. They're just random people she talked to during certain situations. And it's just finding out what information they have that will either document things or it will dispute things. And we'll have to look into it. But yeah, so, okay, I'm getting behind on the comments here, so let me get caught up on those. We who are about to die salute you. This is how Great Lakes did it. They would apply payments to all interest and scatter it, so it would take longer to pay one of them off. Yeah, with my Great Lakes, I don't even know how they were applying the payments. Because I knew that I would never pay off the federal loans, I wasn't even concerned with it. I would just pay the lowest amount possible, and then just sort of edging closer to that 20 years where it gets forgiven. Justin says, yeah, I used to have Great Lakes, didn't have an issue with them. Yeah, I mean, my Great Lakes has been good. I have not had an issue with them either, and I haven't heard anything positive about Nelnet, so not looking forward to that. And of course now, now I can't even log into my account with them, so that's already an issue. Nick Town says, I had federal student loans only, no private loans, luckily. They sound like a nightmare. I mean, I don't really see a difference. Yeah, I don't really see a difference in how my private loans have treated me differently than the federal loans. It's my federal loans that the interest rates have gone up ridiculously. I mean, they've gone up on the private ones too, but not nearly as much. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only downside was that I've had to continue paying the payment every month, even through COVID. But I mean, I guess nobody expected COVID to happen, so I expected to be making those payments throughout this whole time anyway. All right, we got 36 people on here, so this is actually pretty good, so I'm glad everybody can come out. 36 is a pretty big number to have simultaneously. 38, awesome. Thank you guys for continuing to turn up. Justin said, same, I had Fed loans only. I had 1 0 APR loan directly from the school I went to. That was it. That's cool, I didn't even know that was a thing. We who are about to die salute you says, Great Lakes, I have heard, is the best of them. But I just found out on reviewing sites that they were doing the scatter payments when people wanted their payments to go to the principal. Yeah, I know, like with Navient, see, Navient held one of my federal loans, and I paid that off, but they also have 2 private loans of mine. And I'm not at a point where I can make those extra payments and put them toward principal, but I do remember back in 2015 when I was doing that, it was an enormous pain in the ass. In order to get them to do that, you had to mail them a physical check with like a note attached to it for how they were supposed to apply it. All right, 41 people, awesome. Let's see, so yeah, we were about to die salute you says, dang Mark, taking an experienced attorney to the cleaners. So look, I will say that he went into the courtroom and he kind of laid out a pity story to the judge. He was very dishonest. And that's messed up. So he got more than what he probably should have gotten at that hearing, but I did win on some of the issues just because, and this is something like when I went to that attorney to get a consultation about all this at the beginning, what he told me is, you know, you're pro se, you're going up against probably the most experienced attorney in the state. But if you have the law and the truth on your side, then you have a chance. And I do have those. I have reality on my side. And if anybody would like to look at, I mean, I don't mean you guys, I can't like put it out there on the internet, but you know, a judge or a jury wants to see the evidence that I have, I can easily disprove everything she said. And it's just getting the opportunity to do that. So this is kind of like, you know, with the O.J. Simpson trial, he had the criminal trial and he was found not guilty. And then the family of Nicole Brown Simpson sued him and he was found liable. Because if it's a civil, you're not guilty or not guilty, you're liable or not liable. But like they were basically vindicated in civil court and he was found to be responsible for her death. So that's basically what this is. Even though the first trial wasn't criminal, meaning for the restraining order is in this weird category where it's civil, but it's treated as a criminal offense. So I'm going from that to an actual civil trial. And I mean, I think what she doesn't realize, and I don't know why, because her attorney definitely should have told her this, but number one, I don't need to convince her of my story. It's just going to matter what the jury thinks. And number two, I don't have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she did these things. That's not the standard of proof in a civil trial. It's preponderance of the evidence. 51%. If it's more likely than not that she did this stuff maliciously, I win. And when she comes in with no evidence and no witnesses, that's a pretty easy standard to meet, especially because I do have documentation of my whole side. Neolithic says, are you suing for actual money? I'm confused. Yes. So for me, like, money is not like the biggest issue, but let me explain like why I'm suing for money. This for me is about my reputation, and it's about overcoming how like the court took away my rights to due process. So the thing about the court system is money is the only thing they care about. So like if you sue someone, so like with the O.J. Simpson thing, right? When her family, Nicole Brown Simpson's family, sued him, he was found responsible for killing her. But what they got was like a multi-million-dollar settlement, right? So that's the way the court system works. The answer to everything with them is money. So when I'm suing her, it's to be reimbursed for all of the money that she told me that she would pay me back. Because some money I just gave her, right? Because she was my partner. But like, there was some money that she had told me specifically she was going to pay back, and I have that in writing. But also all of the costs, all the legal expenses, everything for all of this. Every witness I have to pay for, every subpoena I send out, all of that. And then on top of that, there are what's called compensatory damages, which is compensating you for the damage that they caused. In this case, it would be like to my reputation, losing my job, losing my apartment, becoming homeless, all of the stuff that is a result of what she's done. And then there's punitive damages. Now, in West Virginia, punitive damages are limited to $500,000. So I know with those, I won't get any more than that. Compensatory damages, there's no cap. I ask for $3.5 million. And I don't want to go into all the details of it in this video because it's like a long, convoluted thing to explain. But the reason that number is so high is because of some of the severity and then also some of the long-lasting effects, including having that domestic violence thing on my criminal record for the rest of my life and not being able to get security clearance and jobs through background checks, not to mention the jobs I lost because of it. So things like that. I have to basically be compensated for the rest of my life for the damages that she has put on me that I'm never going to be able to get past. So to answer that question, yes, I'm suing for money. Part of it is money she owes me. Part of it is money that the court will award to punish her for acting the way that she did. And part of it is reimbursement for like legal stuff. And part of it is reimbursement in theory, which is the way the court reimburses like pain and suffering. They don't make the person come over and make you feel better. They just give you $1 million, right? That makes you feel a little bit better, I guess. I'm just kind of working within the system as it's set up. I know it's not like really ideal, but yeah, anybody who takes anyone to court is suing for money. Now, I did ask for one other thing. And I don't know if the judge will do this. I don't even know if the judge has the power to do this. But I asked for her to have to publish a retraction publicly, probably in the newspaper. Just because she published all this stuff about me and domestic violence in the newspaper, and that's out there and easy to find, that does enough damage, but I want people to be able to find this too. When they search for my name and they find that I'm being called to court for domestic violence, I want them to also see that she was ordered to publicly apologize and admit that she was lying. Chris says, sounds like you got screwed over by the Me Too movement. I wish you well and success. Yeah, I mean, there's been a whole lot of stuff, basically misconduct by the court that occurred, like them not even holding hearings, not listening to anything I said, and just automatically I was guilty. But my idea, and I don't know if I'm right in this, but my idea is that they were doing it in their minds because you're just supposed to believe women. And, that's not supposed to override the law, and that's not supposed to override your duties as a judge to be unbiased and to do your job. But I think that was what they were thinking, is that, this woman came and said that this guy did all this stuff. He's saying he didn't. But if we let him prove that he didn't, then that means we aren't believing women, and that's what we're supposed to do. And I know most women tell the truth, but there's still a small number that don't, and that's this case. So I do think, I don't know if it was Me Too or just like the general kind of idea of things like that, but I do think that that's what happened. And I think that's why. So that's something I'm fighting. And I will say that one of the people who's going to testify on my behalf is my legal advocate from the battered women's shelter. They don't even help men, but they help me because my situation's so bad. And she said that she is going to testify that she, as a domestic violence advocate who works at a women's shelter, thinks that that has gone too far, and that you cannot exclusively believe women. So I don't know how much that's going to help, but I mean, I'm glad she's at least saying that. So oh, fresh lights. Sorry, did I get like way behind on comments? I don't know, guys, I've been spacing out all week. All right, so Fresh Lights says, how are you progressing on saving for an apartment? Okay, so little preview of a future video here. I'm not making much progress. Now, I'm not losing ground, but I'm not making much progress. I started near the beginning of April saving money for this. So basically in April, I saved about $400. I was doing $1 per delivery on DoorDash and Instacart, and I was doing Uber Eats at that time. So $1 per delivery on each of those, and I saved up about $400. That was before I got kicked out. Since I've been kicked out, I've been doing mostly TaskRabbit, which means that I haven't been putting much away. I think at this point I have maybe around $525, and my goal is to have $1,500. So I'm a little more than a third of the way there. It's just going a lot slower now. And the reason that I want $1,500 is the place that I have lined up that I want to live in is brand new, but it's extremely small. It's less than 300 square feet, but it's very nice inside. You're talking about, like stainless steel, granite countertops, like it's really nice. It's just somewhat affordable because it's so small. But that works for me. I mean, I live in my car, so it's going to be huge to me. And it has just a flat fee for utilities. And I mean, that includes like electric and internet, so that's perfect. Since I haven't had bills in my name in a long time, I've been worried too about putting down deposits for those. So this eliminates that problem. Now, this is what I mean when I say a preview of coming videos. So basically what's going to happen is in early July, I'm going to film the video that is a 6-month update to my 2023 financial goals. You guys know that one of those was saving the money to move out of my place that I had in Athens and to get my own apartment. And since my work has changed, and overall I'm making a lot more money, but it means that I'm going to be making less money in the way that I was contributing it to savings. I'm going to change the way I'm saving. I still do DoorDash and Uber Eats, super part-time and Instacart. But what I'm going to do, and I'm going to officially announce this in that financial goals video, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking 10% of what I make with TaskRabbit and putting that towards savings as well. So, normally most jobs for TaskRabbit are between $150 and $200 that I make on a single job. So $15 to $20 basically for each job. I work normally 6 days a week. It's really, I make good money overall, but it's not exactly steady. So it's hard to say, but I'll probably at least be able to put away $100 a week, probably a little more. It's still not quite enough, but it'll pick up the pace quite a bit. So, yeah, so that's the plan. Dade says, can we see a copy of your resume? Well, it's nothing that's not online, so I don't have a way to put it in the live stream, and I don't want to put it up there because it has like my contact info on it, but you can go to my LinkedIn. It's just under my name, and you should be able to recognize the picture of me, so you can look there. I don't have my TaskRabbit work on there, but I think everything is pretty current other than that. There's like a couple of side gigs that I don't have on there, and my boot camp for my education I don't have on there. I graduated from that yesterday, so I'm going to eventually put that on. Daniel RN says, does she actually have any money? A judgment doesn't matter if the person has no money. Well, that's not really true. I'm going to explain why that's not true. The first question, does she actually have any money? If you asked her, she would say no. And in fact, her attorney tried to argue this with me back in April when I talked to him. He was like, she doesn't have the money. And I said, if she told you she doesn't have money, I'm like, that is not true. And that was when I found out that she hasn't actually paid him yet for anything. So that surprised me. I don't know why he's working for free, but yes, she does have money. I don't know why she does this, but she tries to pass herself off as poor. She's on every public assistance available, and she just is not honest about her income sources. And I think in her mind, she really thinks that she's poor, and she thinks that she doesn't have these advantages. But she does have all these advantages. But she does have all these advantages that I don't have. So basically, yes, she has the money. She has the money in bank accounts. She has a trust fund that does have a very, very large amount of money in it. Her family is very wealthy. And although, for one, they pay for most stuff for her, most of her bills. But they also just give her money anytime she needs it. And I think the biggest evidence of this is, she claims she's a waitress that makes $2 an hour. But in reality, this is a small lawsuit, and she hired the number one defense attorney in the state to represent her. That shows right there, she does have it. So yeah, that's the answer to the question. Now, when I say that that's not really true, that the judgment doesn't matter, it does matter in two ways. Because number one, me winning the case proves to the jury, to the public, it's something I can point to show, I was right. I wasn't this person that she made me out to be. And basically that's my way that I can win what should have been the hearing for the restraining order that I never got to do. But for the financial part of it, even if I get the judgment, let's say I get the whole thing, 3.5 million plus the 500 punitive. So I get $4 million. Does she have $4 million? Yes. But, can I force her to access it? I don't know. That's a legal question to explore later. But she has assets. She owns an apartment that she rents out. Like, not the apartment she lives in, but like an apartment that she owns that she rents out for income. She, you know, she has the money in the account. She has the money in her trust fund. She has a car that's in her name that she has equity in. So will I get $4 million? Well, if we can't access the big accounts, probably not. But can I garnish her wages? Can I put a lien against her property? Yes. So it doesn't mean nothing. I get what you're saying. It would still be worth it to me just to be vindicated, essentially, just to prove that I'm not the monster that she's made me out to be. But I think that as far as the money, the money is there to make me whole. That's what the law calls it. It's to make you whole for the damages. That would be nice, because this has had a pretty severe financial impact on me. Even if I'm not made whole, if I'm made partially whole, if I get some of the money back, then, to me, it's worth it. It's already worth it because of the other aspects, but at least I'll get something back. And, maybe this is just me being a little bit bitter, but I almost said to her attorney when he basically said that, she doesn't have the money. I'm like, she should have thought about that before she did this. Anyway. All right, so Leonard, when is the court date, and will it be over then? Will then the TRO not show up on your background check? Can you then move on? Okay, so there's a few issues there. So Leonard, we have several small hearings and stuff up until the trial, but the trial is in February of next year. So it will not be over at the trial, because after the trial, the judgment is issued, and then I have to, what is the word? Execute the judgment. That means I've got to go around to the banks and show it to them and, leverage her assets, or, she has the option of paying me directly, so that could be too, instead of leveraging assets. But basically I have to go out and get the money that's granted to me. So that's something I'd still have to pursue. I don't want to go into a lot of detail here, but as I said earlier, what has been uncovered here during the final hearing for the protection order and then in the discovery process is that she's actually committed quite a few actual criminal offenses during the course of this. And those are going to be pursued. Those are things that are going to continue past the hearing. I will probably have to testify against her at some trial that she has in the future. And there is one other person involved who is going to be charged with a crime. I have to be a little secretive about that right now, but there's another person other than her that I'll also have to testify against for the prosecution. And then, now your question about, and then will it be over? Basically wrapping up getting the money and then wrapping up the loose ends of that, and also there were like the two original judges were going through the Judicial Investigation Committee for their misconduct. So it's basically how lawyers and judges face charges for misconduct. They don't actually, I mean, unless they do something like really bad, they don't like put them in jail, but they have to go in front of a tribunal at the Supreme Court for not acting right. So that's something that I'll be involved in as well. I mean, basically after the trial, the biggest part of this will be over, but there will be these things that I'll still be involved in that I'll have to deal with. Now you said, will after the court date, which I assume you mean the trial, will the TRO not show up on the background check after that? Well, that's the problem. See, without going into all the details on this, the NCIC, which is a division of the FBI, it's the National Crime Information Center, they have these databases, and there's essentially two of them. There is the sex offender registry and the domestic violence registry. And most people are familiar with the sex offender registry, and essentially the domestic violence registry works the same way. The only difference is I don't have to go tell people I'm living there, and I don't have to stay away from schools. But basically I'm on that registry. Now, the way it works, the way it's supposed to work, is that the court staff, once a restraining order is expired, they are supposed to report that it's expired. I have no way of knowing if they do that because I, as a citizen, cannot access the NCIC registry. So I will never know if it comes up or not, and whether it's still adversely affecting me. What is supposed to happen is that, so like my restraining order against me expired in October 2022. It's supposed to stay on the NCIC registry for the end of the year that it expires, until the end of the year it expires, and then for 5 years thereafter. So if it goes the end of 22, then 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So just to be clear, by January 1st, 2028, it should be off my record and no longer counting against me. But the problem is, I can't know if they did that because it's possible that they never update it and it stays on there permanently. And I don't have a way to check it. I just saw your other comment, pay for a background check on yourself and see what shows up. I can't do that because even though I can run my own background, that's not going to show up. It's only going to show up on background checks for things that have a level of like law enforcement level access, which I wouldn't have or be able to run. So the only thing I can really hope is that I get pulled over like by a cop and I can ask the cop, and if they're nice enough, be like, hey, can you tell me if this shows up, when you run my record? I don't know if they do that, but that might be like the only way that I can know for sure if it's still showing up. But I also have to wait until 2028 to even try that. All right. So Chelsea, have you considered fixing your relationship with your parents, especially since you're in this situation? No. I mean, it's not my choice that my relationship with my parents is not good. My dad pretty much disowned me. So I don't have a choice in that. And the reason that he disowned me was because he demanded to know where I lived. He was being really creepy about it. He was making me really uncomfortable, and I told him that, and he just didn't care. He just said that he was entitled to know. And this is when I'm in my 30s, And well, he's absolutely not. And it just, he didn't ever say that he disowned me. He just stopped responding, and I've never heard from him since, and it's been years. Um, then my mom, uh, well, my mom's more recent, but yeah, I have talked to my therapist a lot about my mom and this because it's not that I cut my mom off. My mom cut me off. And it's because she's very insensitive about things that I'm sensitive about, and she doesn't care. I don't know if she's intentionally saying things to upset me, but she doesn't care if they upset me. And she's constantly starting fights. She hangs up on me, which I've tried to draw as a boundary before. I was like, do not hang up on me. You're like 74 years old, grow up. So, but she just keeps doing it. And last year, she hung up on me once after saying something that was really painful. And I like told her, I was like, look, like I am really upset by what you're saying. Like you're being really insensitive. Like I didn't even know about this. Now I'm like panicking. Like I felt like I couldn't even go to work that day because she had upset me so much. I think I did cancel my job that day. And then she calls me back a few months later, left me a voicemail that was just really, really stern. She's just like, this is your mother. You need to call me immediately. And I'm like, all right. So I called her back, and what she wanted, she had come up with some scheme. It was stupid. Like, it was honestly, genuinely stupid. What she was doing made no sense, and it had a big risk of, like, screwing up everything for me and her. And somehow, without having any money, because she literally has no money. She's in a nursing home, and she's not allowed to access her own accounts. She had hired an attorney, and the attorney was coming in 2 days and needed to see this paperwork. Well, I don't know where the hell the paperwork is. She wanted me to go get the paperwork and bring it to her. And she was being horribly nasty, too, not like somebody who needs something. She was just being really condescending and awful to me. And so, anyway, I was trying to tell her that the attorney thing didn't make any sense and that she wasn't going to be able to pay him, and she didn't want to hear that. And so finally, I just told her, I was like, look, I don't know where the paper is. And she's like, well, it's in this dresser. It's in the top drawer. And the problem with that is that my mom, back in 2018, I think it was, she sold her house, this huge house full of like a lifetime of her stuff. And part of the deal was the guy who she sold it to was going to pack everything up for her and pay for 6 months of a storage unit. And he was going to move her to the storage unit. And you know what? I know a lot of the stuff didn't get moved, but a lot of it is in there. I don't know what's in there because I can't even walk into the storage unit. Like it's just piled to the ceiling with stuff. I don't know if that particular piece of furniture is in there. It would take me literally, and this is not an exaggeration, it would probably take me an entire calendar year if I worked full-time every day just to pull the stuff out of here and organize it in some sort of way where I knew where stuff was and so that I could access everything that's in there. And she was demanding that I go find that. And she's just, I don't even know. I don't even know. And then technically, I own that stuff anyway, because a judge back in, oh God, I think it was 2019, signed everything over to me. So the storage unit is in her name, but I pay it. And everything inside legally belongs to me. I have a court order saying that. So it's not even her damn paperwork anyway. And anyway, So she hung up on me again and told me that she would just find someone else to help her. I don't know if she did. Um, I get updates from the nursing home. They call me and they tell me either when she's sick and gone to the hospital, or lately, apparently she's decided to learn how to walk again, because she hasn't walked since 2016, and that's her own choice. She she was having trouble walking, and then they sent her to a physical therapy hospital and told us that, they would totally be able to get her walking again, and then she just chose not to. But apparently now she's trying to learn, so I don't know. But basically, I think my counselor and I are in agreement that, like, I've tried to set boundaries with her. She just absolutely will not respect them. And I can't allow her in my life. I just can't allow somebody who's going to act like that, who's going to be so dismissive and disrespectful to my feelings about stuff. And it sucks because, like, I feel like I would be one of those people who, like, is a family person and, like, wants to be part of a family. Like, I would go to, like, family events and stuff. I want to be part of that, like, close-knit thing, but I can't have it because my parents are awful. And it's not just me. Like, I tell my counselor this stuff when it goes on, and she agrees with me that that I'm being reasonable about not having contact. So basically, I can't repair. I mean, it's not really even up to me. Um, it's not really up to me to repair the relationships with my parents, because my parents are the ones who have chosen to end the relationships. I mean, my mom didn't call me on my birthday this year. Of course, I didn't call her on Mother's Day or her birthday, but I can't, because if I call her back after everything that she's done, then I'm showing her that her behavior is acceptable, and it's not. So pretty much me and my counselor just have been like, well, yeah, it's a bad situation, but, like, you can't let her back in if she's going to act like that. So that's where things are with that. Okay, so let me get back up to the comments. Actually, guys, give me. All right, we got 40 people on. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Give me 3 minutes. I will be right back. And I've got about 10 more comments to get through. We'll do those. And feel free to leave anything in the meantime, and I'll get to it eventually. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I think the cacophony upstairs ended. All right. So Chelsea, the second part of the answer to your question, you said, um, have I considered fixing things with my parents, especially because, yeah, Chelsea, I just saw your comment, but I mean, that is the case. It's not fair for you to say that I need to take a responsibility when I'm telling you the situation exactly as it is. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm acting in the right ways, and I'm treating people as good people. I don't know why I have such a bad hand dealt to me in life, but it's not right or fair for you to put that blame on me when the things that you're saying I need to be responsible for don't exist. So, no, Chelsea, I can't fix my relationship with my toxic parents to try to mooch off of them because I'm in the situation that I'm in. My parents are a big part of the reason of the situation I'm in. I do not need to go back to toxic, dangerous people who treat me badly to hope that I can somehow get money out of them, which they don't have. And then that would allow them to use that to control me, which is what they've tried to do in the past. So that is just absolutely awful. And I don't know if you're saying that from a perspective of somebody who has not faced adversity in their life, or if it's like a victim blaming type of thing. But seeing the comment that you just made, that's what I'm leaning toward. So yeah, guys, if you're gonna come here and you're gonna blame me when it's not something that I can take responsibility for, I will call you out on your bullshit. Well-Behaved Wallet says, congrats on graduating from the boot camp. That's a huge achievement. I'm joining late, but happy I caught you live. Yeah, thank you. So I'm glad I graduated. I'm glad that that's something I can put on my LinkedIn. There were some interesting ideas that I think that once I have some time, I can explore from that. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know that I really learned very much from it. I was hoping I would, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to just sit and absorb from a lecture a lot of the stuff I was hoping to learn. I'm going to have to still find the time and sit and like kind of learn it myself. The one thing that really does help though is I've graduated from the boot camp, but the way they say it is it's not the beginning of the end, it's the end of the beginning. And so after the boot camp ends, they open up your opportunities with the university to do certain things like getting funding, which they're supposed to be sending more information out about. But as we complete these checklists of things they gave us, of like little things that need to be done on the road to making a business, that they will give you like cash rewards. So I could get some money for me, I could get some money to put toward the business. And then they talked about zero interest loans, and they've talked about even providing you like with interns or having some of the College of Business students say like design things for you, like logos and that kind of thing. So I'm still waiting on the follow-up email. I just graduated yesterday, so I'm not sure when that's going to be, but hopefully. Oh, and then there's one-on-one mentorship. They did say they want to do a Zoom call with us within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll have more information about that then. And then again, with Chelsea apparently blaming me for something, she doesn't have money since you helped pay some of her bills. What? I don't know what this means. So she doesn't have money since I paid her bills. Well, that would mean that she has money because she wasn't spending her own money. I mean, the alternative interpretation of that is you're saying that that's evidence that she doesn't have money because I paid her bills, but that doesn't mean she wasn't lying to me. That doesn't mean she wasn't getting money from her mom or from other people and didn't need the money from me. I mean, I don't know if that's what happened, but that also is possible. I mean, just because somebody chooses to ask somebody for money, that doesn't mean that they don't have the money or that there aren't other sources they can get it from. Like, I don't really like to ask for people for money, but let's say I asked somebody for $100. Well, I have $100 in my bank account. Like, I don't need the $100 from this person. I just want $200. Fresh Lights, how about the entrepreneurship course that you've been taking? Have you completed it? Yeah, that's the boot camp. It's the Southeast Ohio Community Entrepreneurship Boot Camp. And so, yeah, it's completed, at least the boot camp section of it. And I'm waiting to get more information about like the follow-up and what exactly I can do with that. Because like honestly, with the money thing, I can get by with the tools I have, but it would be nice to have some better ones. I really, really want a van, like a panel van, something like a Dodge ProMaster City or like a Ford Transit Connect, to have as like my work vehicle. And if I got that, I would get rid of my car and just drive that exclusively. And then I could also sleep in that, which it would give me more space and a little more privacy. But that's hopefully something that I could do through here. And even if I have to take a loan for it, if they give me a 0 interest loan, then I'd be able to do that. All right. Sandra says, sounds like she's a privileged Karen. That's why she reacts and does all the things she does. She did. I don't know if you're talking about the girl or my mom. But if you're talking about the girl, yeah, you picked up on what I'm trying to tell Chelsea, is that she is very privileged. I think she truly believes she's not, and maybe she just needs to see like how hard I've had things and compare it to where she is. Because I don't want to say that she hasn't had a hard life, because she has. It's just mine has been a lot worse. It's been a lot harder. And that's where that privilege comes in, right? Like, I don't have anybody to run to if something goes wrong. She's got her family, she's got her money. I don't have that. I don't have anything. So, but I do understand that if you grew up a certain way and, you know, you may be privileged in ways that you haven't thought about. And there might be ways that I'm privileged, that there are people that have less than me think I'm privileged. So I want to be aware of that too. But yeah, I'm not sure who you're referring to though. Leonard says pay for background check, check on yourself and see what shows up. Like I said, that won't work because I have to have that law enforcement level of like clearance. It's like it's a whole thing. I'll look more way down the road eventually into how I can try to like make sure that's not on there. I'm just not sure how that would happen because it's not supposed to happen. Like you're not supposed to be able to access that yourself. And I'm sure that like law enforcement's not really supposed to give out that information. So it's something where I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Popcorn Family says, I really wish that everything turns around for you, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, I think things are in a good direction, I think. It's just too early to tell. Neolithic says, do you wish you had siblings? Well, I don't know. Like when I was little, I remember telling my mom and my dad that I wanted a sibling. They just laughed and were just like, that's never going to happen. And, maybe by that point maybe they like already hated each other and that was why that was never going to happen. I'm not sure, but I do have a stepbrother and a stepsister, but I don't have anything to do with my stepfamily. There's a lot of resentment from my side about how my stepdad treated me and how my mom treated me because of my stepdad. Essentially from the point that he came into my life when I was in first or second grade up until the time that he died, which was after I graduated college, my mom basically just ignored my existence. She was not a mother to me. She was so obsessed with him that, that's all she cared about. And so I never liked my stepdad. I didn't want to be part of his family. And so like his kids, who are my stepbrother and my stepsister, they have been better to me, although when I was younger they were not good to me, but they've been better to me than he was. But because of the association with him and because of the association with how my mom treated me because of him, and then also just the way that my stepbrother and my stepsister have conducted their lives, I don't want anything to do with them. They've done some really bad things. And they're older now. They're older than me, and they're probably close to 50. I think my stepbrother in particular is pretty much, I think he's turned his life around a good bit, but still not somebody I really want to associate with. My stepsister was much worse than him, and she kind of somewhat has turned her life around. Mostly, but I don't really want to be associated with the life she leads. And then her son, my stepnephew, is just the worst. I don't want any involvement in that. So, yeah. So I don't know. It's like I did want a sibling when I was little, but then I kind of got siblings, although they were much older than me. And then that didn't go well. But then they're not my actual siblings, so I don't know. I see the advantage, like, if my family treats me like crap, then, like, maybe I have somebody who understands because they've been through it too. And all these times that I had no support, maybe I would have a brother or sister that I could go stay with when I was homeless. Like, I see those kinds of things, but I don't know. I don't know if the potential positives outweigh the potential negatives. And for their sake, I'm thinking it's probably better that, my parents didn't subject another child to what I went through. Max, thoughts on the band Paramore? So, make sure I'm still in frame. Okay. So my computer's right here. That's why I keep looking over this way. And then I have you guys perched on a chair because I don't have my tripod in here. That was a weird noise. Anyway, so I don't know that much about Paramore. The girl, actually, that's the only reason I really know about them, because that was her favorite band, at least like in high school it was. There is one song of theirs, and it's a cover of another famous song. I can't think of what it is, but it keeps coming up on my Spotify. I think it was just like a suggested song, and then I don't remember what the name of it is, but I really don't know that much about them. Yeah, I can't think of what that song is. Okay, so this is Chelsea's comment that I was upset about, but I'm going to read it. So she says, everyone can't be wrong. You have to take some accountability about how your relationships with others have played out. Your parents, ex-girlfriend, ex-roommates, bosses. You make enemies everywhere you go. And that last statement is true. I do make enemies everywhere I go, except the part of that statement that might not be true is the I make. I don't think that I do something that makes enemies for me. And I've heard this argument countless times. It's usually in the comments on my videos, but occasionally I do hear it in real life too. But it's like when I first saw this comment, I don't like the hand that I've been dealt in life. I don't like that I'm surrounded by shitty people who take advantage of me. I don't want a roommate who tries to stab me. I don't want a girlfriend who ghosts me and then, files false charges against me. I don't want parents who disown me. But I didn't do anything to make them do those things. I mean, that's kind of part of the reason that we're in court, right? I'm proving, hey, I didn't do anything to you. So the way that I think about it is there's one of two possibilities, because the one possibility I've pretty much ruled out, and that is what she's saying. She's saying, well, you're the common denominator. It has to be your fault. But the thing is, I'm 38 years old, and this has been going on at least back as far as high school, where I keep encountering people like this that just have a problem with me. And I have overthought it, and I have scrutinized it. I've asked multiple counselors, friends, and no one has any idea. I mean, even Chelsea here in the comments, she's saying, you're the problem, but she doesn't say what the problem is. No one even has any clue of what the problem could be. And I think when I've looked for years for that problem, thinking that because I'm the common denominator, that I must be the problem, but I can't find it. And no one, even as many people as I've upset and as many enemies as I've made, no one's ever said, this is what your problem is, or like, here's the problem with you. This is why this keeps happening. No one can identify it. So I'm open to taking responsibility for things that I'm doing. But I've pretty thoroughly investigated this issue for years. And it's easy for someone to come from the outside and say, oh, well, it's obviously you. But if it's me, what is it? Right? And that's why I feel like it can't be me because I can't think of anything and no one else has been able to think of it, of like what the actual issue is that's making these enemies, right? Now, what makes more sense is if we just looked statistically. And this is what, I was a psych major, so I took statistics and research methods in college, and this is basically what I think is happening. It sucks, but this is what I think happens. So, you guys know how statistics work, I would hope. So there's like a bell curve, right? And right in the middle, right in the center of that bell curve, that is like average, right? That's middle of the road. Hey, John Doe. I'm just in the middle of a rant right now, so forgive me, but glad you're here. So with this bell curve, you have a standard deviation on one side or the other. And let's say that one side of it is, you have a good hand dealt to you in life, and on the other side, you have a bad hand dealt to you. All right? So, but with a bell curve, you have the middle here, and then you got, this is where the standard deviations start. That's where almost everybody falls into these standard deviations. What the hell is that? Just a weird noise outside. I'll have to figure out what that is in a minute. So you've got almost everybody falls into this standard deviation to one side of the average or to the other. But there are these things called outliers, and they are certain points of data that fall very far to one extreme or the other. There's not very many of them because most of them fit right in the center, where, some people have kind of a bad hand dealt to them in life and some people have kind of a good hand. But then there are outliers like me who are way far on one side, where they had bad parents. They've had bad bosses and bad jobs. They had a bad girlfriend, and that's looking at it as if the hand is just laid out there, right? But it's exactly the same thing as the scenario with the girl, right? If you believe all women, that means that, in the extremely small number of accusations that are false, you're not believing the ones that are actually false. And so with this bell curve example, if almost everybody fits in here, but there's a few outliers, but there's a few outliers, but then you just basically ignore the outliers and tell them that they're the problem. Now, in this specific scenario, you probably wouldn't even have a problem with the people that had a very, very, very good hand dealt to them. But for the people that have very, very bad ones, you're blaming them. And, quite honestly, I just have to do the best with what I'm given. Well, as far as parents and stuff, I have to try to set boundaries. I have to try to stand up for myself and what's right. And, and I have to cut them out if they won't go along with that. But I don't know. So this is how much I've overthought this, guys. I've literally in my mind done a scientific study over the years of this. So I think it's more an issue of statistics more than it is an issue of anything that I'm doing. And I don't want to have bad parents or bad relationships. You think I didn't live with I didn't love this girl. Like, I was with her for so many years. Like, I didn't do anything to ruin that because I wouldn't have. I didn't want to lose her, and because I didn't want to lose her, I wouldn't have done anything that would have caused me to lose her. So it's really just an issue of these things are not the result of actions that I've taken. I don't know why they've happened. But I do know that it's not a result of me doing something. So I'm sorry, I got way down this rabbit hole. There's a bunch of comments that have come in about it, and I'll get to those. But yeah, guys, if there is a problem there, and there really is a problem with me, I want to change it because I want to stop being treated like this, and I want to stop. And I just have to. Yeah. So I mean, basically, I just need to do the best with what I've been given. That's all I can really do. And I mean, I continuously try to make my life better. And I try, when people turn out to be negative, I try to not allow them to be in my life. But what I found, and like some of the comments I'm getting, I think are an example of this. When I'm doing well and I'm successful, people are happy for me. But when I'm not doing well, it's like when I'm not doing well, people flock to me to kick me while I'm down and tell me that everything is my fault. And I'm really down right now with like the way everything is in my life. And I feel like it's constant, and I constantly have to advocate for myself. Because no matter what happens to me that other people do, I'm told it's my fault. And it's just not. And that is something that I have a hard time fighting, but I'm going to continue to fight it because I see something that I think other people don't see. And that is when people are down, other people flock to them to kick them while they're down. That seems to be a trait that humanity has. And that's something I've seen consistently over the years. And the only way to get away from that is to not be down. Like, when I build myself back up and when I'm not as in a bad place in my life, people love me. I don't have these enemies. But even my own parents, when I'm in a bad place, they try to take advantage of it. I think it's just human nature. It's really insidious. And I don't know if you've never been in so like down low positions as I've been in my life, I don't know if you'd ever even see it, or if you'd see enough of it to recognize the pattern. But yeah, that's it. So let me get to some of these comments. I know there's some others that I disagree with that I saw come up, so we'll have to have that conversation. Yeah, so that was Chelsea's comment. So I think I pretty much thoroughly said what I think about that. John B says, traveling today. Sorry I missed most of this. I'll catch up on the rest. When you post this, be sure and check the comments there. Yeah, I will. I always read through those, even if I don't reply. Fresh Light says, will you make more vlogs, day in life videos, or regular videos? Looks like that's bringing more people to live stream as well. I do agree with you. I think that's bringing more people to live stream. I'm going to try to continue making it, but I make absolutely no promises. As I said in my financial goals this year, my focus this year has to be just on working and making money and the lawsuit. Now, after February of next year, When the lawsuit's over, I might be able to make more commitments as far as working on the channel, but I'm stretched extremely thin with time and resources, so I can't really focus on anything else. I'm going to try to make more videos for the remainder of the year before the trial, but it kind of depends on how much time I have free to do that. Okay, so Leonard says, if only the police can see it, it's fine. I'm thinking more about employer screening. You probably have credit problems show up. You don't want to have other stuff on background check as well. Yeah, so I do have some issues with my credit. The thing about it is it's supposed to be where only police can see it. But back in May, I got deactivated on Uber Eats. And I've been on Uber and Uber Eats since 2017. And out of nowhere, I couldn't sign in. They finally told me when I contacted them that I was deactivated. And when I finally got an answer out of them as to why, they said it was because of my criminal history. I don't have criminal history, but what's happened is, well, somehow, even though this is only supposed to be law enforcement, Uber's able to see it on their background check. And I think they don't understand that just because it says domestic violence, that I'm not charged with domestic violence. It's a domestic violence protective order, because that's what West Virginia calls protective orders that are issued for somebody who is a romantic partner or family member, rather than it being a personal protection or personal safety order that would be for everyone else. Of course, I can't make them understand that, but yeah, this is probably not going to be the only time that this kind of issue is, it's made an issue, because people don't understand the difference between it being a restraining order and a criminal charge. And somehow still Uber is able to see this even though they're not supposed to be able to. And so I did lose a job even recently over this. SB, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Oh God, okay, what is this year? 2023. So that's 2028. I mean, realistically, by 2028, I think YouTube will be a thing. Not a full-time income, but like a somewhat source of income. I think that I will have a lot of my financial problems fixed, like credit cards and stuff paid off. I think I'll be back housed somewhere, and will probably, hopefully, maybe own a rental property by then. I hate to say this, guys, because it sounds like I'm blaming her, and I don't mean to blame her. It's just an observation, but I've had to rebuild my life so many times. Just completely rebuild it. And I've put up so much time and effort into doing that. And I'm doing it again. But the thing is, that's why I don't seem to have anything. I've accomplished so much, but I have nothing to show for it, because when she's in my life, things are good, but then somehow they always fall apart. And not just with her, but when she's in my life, my life falls apart. And I've spent so many times having to rebuild because of that. That's where all like what looks like nothing is me actually having rebuilt my life several times. I'm just not moving forward because I have to go back to basically zero and then move forward again instead of just continuously moving on forward. Yeah, so John Doe says, hey, came in late. Chris says, I don't think you knowingly or intentionally make enemies. Wherever you go, but it does consistently occur. I agree with that. I think your parents have done so much emotional damage when you were young. That has significantly reduced your chances of successful adult relationships. I think that could be true. I don't know specifically like what that would be, like how it would reduce them, or like how what they did makes me make enemies. I'm not saying you're wrong because I just don't know. The thing is, as far as successful adult relationships, that's what I feel like after this girl that I'm struggling with. I mean, I'm not even trying to date or anything like that, but I'm not talking about dating. I'm talking about just, I think that I was a pretty good partner to her and to girls I've dated before. But I'm not sure that I'm going to be in the future. Like, not intentionally, but I think I've been so like emotionally damaged by all of this that so like, for example, I was always the one that wanted to talk about an issue as soon as it came up, and I dealt with it in like the most like marital therapy kind of way, but then, and it was like so healthy the way that I dealt with things, but then after a decade of basically not discussing any issues ever because I wasn't allowed to, I've come up with all these like maladaptive ways of doing things to the point where even though I have the desire to talk about an issue when it comes up, it's so hard for me to do. And I know it's so hard for normal people, but that's not me. This was what I was good at. And now it's like I went from being a good put together partner to a bad partner. And I know if I get into a relationship in the future, I'm going to be the one that's not mature enough to have a conversation about things. So I am worried about that. Okay, John Doe says, oh wait. John Doe says, maybe nothing is wrong with you and you just have bad luck. I think that's an element of it, and whether that's a big element or a bad element, I'm not quite sure. That didn't make any sense. Whether that's a big element or a small element of it, I'm not quite sure. Leonard says, you're far from the extreme. It could be much, much worse. You're free and in one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Okay, that's true. You have to play the hand you have and try enough times to get lucky. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like, I'm just doing the best with what I've been born into, what I was given in life. I mean, you are right. And if you're saying that I'm not one of the outliers, I'm not one of the extremes, I would say that if I'm not that, I think I'm outside of the, I'm outside the standard deviation. So if we're looking at that bell curve and we have a standard deviation in the direction of having a bad hand in life, I think I'm outside that standard deviation. But you're saying I'm not so far as to be like one of the extreme outliers. You also say the only way to have a chance of success is for you to believe that success is mostly on yourself. I mean, I don't not believe that. I mean, I know I don't have any support So it's going to be up to me, however my life goes. When you finally achieve success, then you have to believe a lot of it was predetermined or luck. I mean, I think in my case, it's going to be luck. With the hand I've been dealt in life, I don't think that it's predetermined at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be one of those rich people that looks back and says like, oh, I worked so hard to get this. I mean, I might know I worked hard, but I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm lucky I can just finally chill out. I'm not going to go brag about it. And then you say veritasium is success, luck, or hard work. I'm assuming that's a book. I know veritas is Latin for truth. The popcorn family says, don't let others bring you down. Yeah, well, we get into these discussions, and I think like all of this discussion branched off of the comment that Chelsea made, like blaming me for people not liking me. So all of this conversation we're having now, I think, is stemming from that. Chris says, your perception is your reality. If you perceive yourself as being down, then you will be down. If you perceive yourself as successful and indestructible, then you will succeed. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm both. Like life just kind of shits on me, but at the same time, I do see myself as successful because I'm able to survive, even despite all of that. And like, when I make these vlogs for you guys and you see my daily life, like, my life is this really weird clash of two extremes at all times. Like, I wake up in my car and then I go work in these mansions where people be like asking me, like, if I want to have a bottle of Perrier while I'm working, and it's just these clashes of like extremes all the time. And I do acknowledge how strange that is while they're happening. Popcorn Family says, I agree with Chris. Poe says, wow, I just remembered that Goudy was going live stream, so I came at a good time. But I hate that I joined now, so I have to come back and watch it later. That sucks. Leonard says, I also agree with Chris. Mark, it's very difficult when in deep depression, but the truth is you're the only person who can pull yourself out. Well, I mean, that is true that I'm the only person that can pull me out, and I know that from the point that, I don't have any support or resources. So it's always been only me. What I'm doing is I'm working and I'm trying to survive. That has to take precedent, because I mean, if I don't make that, I'm dead. So it doesn't matter if I pull myself out of depression. But I also know that I also have to at the same time advocate for myself, and that's what this whole lawsuit's about. So it's like, I'm trying to survive and I'm trying to advocate for myself at the same time. And then once I get past those, if there's any time left, then yes, I can try to pull myself up. But they're all interconnected too. Like, obviously, if I make progress in the lawsuit and I get some of those things rectified, that's kind of the source of a lot of my depression. That helps too. And it helps take some stress off when I'm able to support myself and not be worried about bills. So that's interconnected. It's like all complicated, and it's constantly readjusting, trying to figure out what time and resources I have and what I can allocate to each thing to keep everything going. And so far, I've been able to keep it all together. It's not pretty. It's very uncomfortable, But that's what's going on behind the scenes. Poe says, yeah, John Doe, same thing happened to me. Just remember his live stream a few minutes ago. Poe's asking what time I started. So I started at 3:30. It is 6 now. So we've been going for 2.5 hours. We've gotten into some really deep conversations. Like probably way more info than you guys ever wanted. Poe says, so 3:30, it's 4:50 here, so 1 hour and 20 minutes ago. Oh, no, so you're like a time zone behind. I'm on Eastern time. Damn, I wish I would have caught it from the beginning. I love watching Goudy talk about things. Thank you. And all about what is happening in his life. Neolithic says, don't be offended, Mark, but it's also how someone plays the hand. Like, with that awful girlfriend you had, from an outsider's perspective, so admittedly, we don't know everything that went on, you held on to that relationship for far too long. It was hard to watch you being treated so poorly by her. Yeah, and I mean, I know that you guys saw that things were going on, and even as carefully as I worded things as things were going on, because I know I put a lot out there, and you guys are like, well, what are you talking about? You put everything out there. No, I put like less than 10% out there of what was going on. But there were still some of you who messaged me and emailed me and were like, hey, this happened. And I'm like, how did you figure that out? I didn't say anything about that. And people were figuring things out. I'll give you one example. People were like, well, it sounds like her mom got involved. I didn't say anything about her mom. And you guys somehow were able to tell that her mom had turned her against me. And so guys, it is pretty complicated. Like Neo here does say, admittedly, we don't know everything that went on. The easiest way for me to explain that is this. She and I were together in some sort of way or another for about 9 years. And for so many years, she was amazing. Like, not just a normal good girlfriend, but like incredible like you couldn't imagine. And essentially she had proven herself to me to be such a good person for so many years. Like, no one could be faking that because they couldn't do that consistently. I don't know what happened, but something happened. Something changed, and I don't think it had anything to do with me. I think some stuff happened in her life that changed her as a person, and I think it was traumatic for her. She would never talk about it, but something changed her, and she even kind of alluded to that. And I don't even think it was one thing. I think it was a mixture of things, but she changed as a person. Oh, thank you for the super chat, $3 super chat. And I'm not straight up blaming her, but it's really hard when somebody, because like, if you start dating somebody and they start acting crazy or they're like really mean to you, you're just like, what the hell, go away, right? Like you're like, I don't want any of that. But when somebody has been so amazing to you for so many years, and then suddenly they're acting kind of differently, but then also not all the time, and you still see the person you love in there, first you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, or like maybe they're having a bad day. And then, I don't know, it takes a long time. It's not as easy as when you first date somebody and you're just like, you're gone. Nah, like, well, I'm not dealing with that. There's much more involved. And then, of course, there's feelings involved, right? Because, like, it's not even like I dated this girl for a year. We dated for 9 years. So I was very, very heavily involved. Like, feelings-wise. And that makes it really hard too. So that's what's going on with that. I mean, I know you guys say she's an awful girlfriend. To be fair, she wasn't an awful girlfriend until the last couple of years. And then with the mental health issues, I didn't even know about that until after all this had happened, after the ghosting. I didn't even know that was a thing that we were dealing with. So that's not something that I could have prepared for. So yeah, that whole thing. So Neolithic, the rest of your comment, it felt like you didn't see your own worth when you were with that girlfriend. You deserved better. I mean, I know, I am aware of what I brought to the table in the relationship. And I think it's not that I deserved better and didn't understand that. It was that I didn't understand what she was not contributing, and I didn't understand, I guess, like the severity of how badly she was treating me, if that makes any sense. It was another thing just because it was such a long time and I was so involved that, like, it was hard for me to have perspective on it. Even though I knew how valuable I wasn't seeing how little value she brought. And even if I had seen that, I don't know if I would have walked away, because since she had proven herself to me for so many years, I was kind of looking at it cumulatively, not, oh, like the last 2 years she's been awful kind of thing. So, yeah, there's a lot of nuance that you guys can't know, because even if I'm doing a 3-hour live stream like today, I can't give you guys 9 years of background. Fresh Light says you're quite resilient. It takes a lot to keep going considering all the odds you had. I mean, people have told me that, and I think it's true. I mean, I think it is true that I don't just give up and just continue surviving. Like, I keep trying to move forward. So Poe says, for me, I always tune into Mark's channel because I care about him. Thank you. I really want him to succeed. I don't want him to turn into a Matt Foley kind of guy. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I will have to remember to look back at the chat and check that out after the stream. So yeah, keep grinding. Let me see here. Well, okay. Okay, so I was trying to figure out, keep grinding, I guess that's your name. I was trying to figure out if that was your username or if that was the message you sent. But thank you for the $3 super chat. And I think that's a super sticker. Yeah, so Fresh Lights is saying, agreed with Neo on holding on far too long and ignoring her deeds. Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest with you guys, part of it is just I've never been mistreated like that in a relationship, and I just didn't know what to do. I gave way too many chances, and I did put up with it for far too long. And even now, like, I don't hate her. I do want her to take responsibility for what she did, but I don't actually have any bad feelings toward her. I care about her a lot. I can't say that I really know what her problem is, but I don't know. I don't think that will happen again. I don't think you guys will see that happening, because I really think the reason that I stayed so long, and again, this sounds familiar about like abusive relationships and stuff, but I think the reason I stayed so long is, one, because of the length of time that all of this occurred, and two, because of the length of time, I was so involved emotionally, and because of the length of time, I felt like the way that she had acted previously, she'd proven herself to me, and I think I was kind of looking at the whole situation cumulatively, while you guys were looking at it more as like, okay, it doesn't matter, she's been a perfect angel for 8 years, she's being awful right now. And that is still, I mean, I'm better able to see it now, but it's still something that's really hard for me to like just even conceptualize. And I'm glad that you guys will at least say that you don't think it's okay the way she was treating me, because honestly, I'm still dealing with the court system, and I think wider society who just say that, well, it's your fault, everything's your fault. You know, she can do whatever she wants, and you just have to deal with it. And yeah, I mean, it's really not okay. Okay, John just asked an interesting question, and I've been thinking about this like the last week or so. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I heard a noise outside. I'll be right back. Okay, there's just somebody walking around outside, and I was just making sure I'm not getting kicked out of here. So John Doe asked, are you going to go somewhere warm if you're homeless during the winter? Well, originally, before I got kicked out, I was saving up money to get into housing as soon as possible. And that was probably going to be May or June. Then I got kicked out, well, you know, by my roommate. And I didn't have the money together to get a place, so I started living in the car. It was like the last week of cold weather, and then it warmed up. And we're still in like the warm time of year. Now, I live in Ohio, so you never know what's going to happen. It might start getting cold and become winter in August. Sometimes it does that. Sometimes it doesn't get cold until January. Like, there's been a couple years it's been like 75 on Christmas. So I don't know how long I'm going to have until I have to make a decision on that. I had been thinking I was going to get the money together by like maybe August. Try to get moved in. But I'm also thinking about possibly doing it more long term, just depending on what my finances look like. Like, I'm going to continue saving for the apartment, and I'll have that $1,500 in savings. But can I keep this going longer so that I have less overhead? I have more opportunity to create my business and get money coming in, and maybe get more caught up with paying my stuff off and repairing the car or saving for a new car or whatever I need to do there. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure. I have a place I can go. I can't really give you guys the information about it, but it's the place I'm in now, not just this room, but like this entire building. So it's a place I can go 24 hours a day. I can't really sleep here, but well, maybe I could, but I'm going to try not to. but it's a place that I can go that would be warm during the winter. And yeah, Neolithic, yeah, that makes sense, Mark. Thanks for explaining. So I didn't think it was making a lot of sense when I explained it, so I'm glad you got it. Leonard, I was talking to Poe. Yes, I love that meme. Dude, before my roommate tried to stab me, I was telling him about that meme. So I follow like a lot of van life channels, and you know, these people are buying like $100,000 vans, like they're that much just for the van, and then putting another 100,000 in converting them. But yeah, you're right. Like that is definitely a thing. I'm from a river town, and that is definitely a thing that people used to say, is that you'd be living in your car down by the river. And now it's this thing that is like cool to do and everybody's doing, but at the same time, it's like ungodly expensive. You know, you can't just, I don't know. What I have, my rig is technically considered a no build, meaning that like I didn't make any alterations to it. I just live in my car as is. Now, that's actually something I'm thinking about, guys. I'm not going to go into like all the different ways this can go, but depending on what happens with my car, it might last another 100,000 miles. So, you know, if that happens, sure, I'm not going to replace it. But depending on what I do with my living situation, I might also want to get another car. I'm kind of tethered to this area for this year because, well, I have to check in. I have to go to occasional hearings for the lawsuit. So through February 2024, I kind of have to be in this general area of the country. But after that, if I have more income coming in that's more passive, where I don't have to be in person, and if I had a car that did not have 220,000 miles on it, where, you know, I wasn't worried about putting the extra miles on, then I might, for example, want to drive somewhere warm during winter. Like I might want to move to like, I don't know, Georgia or something, and stay down there during the winter and then come back to Ohio during the summer and, you know, just live in my vehicle but drive it back and forth. It's just, you know, I have to stay in this general area for right now. But there's a couple different options as far as cars, and whatever I end up buying next, it's definitely going to be on my mind of, if I need to sleep in this car at some point, is this going to be a good car for that? And, you know, how could I modify it to make it better? Life of Luke says hi from Australia. Hey, man. I actually haven't seen too many Australian viewers. I've got most people who watch me are from the US, a few from Canada, and I think Sweden. Those are my big ones. But yeah, cool. Yeah, welcome. I've actually been streaming now for, wow, like almost 3 hours. So the comments just died down. Like we literally just got through all the comments. So, oh, and there's John Doe. I know they have those sleeping bags that are designed for negative degree weather. That might work. Yeah, so, because right now, because I told you guys I'm like basically, I just have a camping mat and then like regular sheets from a bed. I'm really going to try not to sleep in my car when it's cold. I am definitely more sensitive to the cold than most people. And Ohio is brutally cold. It's just not going to be a good situation. I mean, if I don't just get like frostbite or something, I'm probably just going to be miserable. So even if I was able to sleep in the sleeping bag, like getting out of it, and it's just going to be bad. Also, I can't just because I have noticed when it's cold and I go to like a truck stop to sleep, A lot of times there will be people who just run their heater or run their air conditioner all night long in their car. And I can't do that because, like, one, I can't afford to waste gas like that. But two, I can't sleep in my car if it's running because my car runs rough. Like, well, it's a Subaru, and like it's always run a little rough, but like as it's older, like it runs rougher. And I've noticed when I have turned it on and I've laid down in the back, the vibration I know would keep me awake because it's not like an even vibration, like just the way my car idles. It like, I don't know how to explain it. It like jerks and does weird things. I mean, it runs fine. It gets me places. It's just an old car. So, it's not quiet or smooth like new cars are. But I know that I wouldn't be able to run the heat. So I'm gonna have to find a solution for that. And I can't move south this year. That's gonna have to be next year. I actually, for 2024, after the lawsuit, I think I just want to try to explore like this area. Well, I'm in Ohio. I mean West Virginia, where I'm from. I want to try to explore and go to different counties. And well, I still haven't even been to New River Gorge after it became a national park. I haven't been there since the 90s, I think. So I want to do something like that. Oh, Neolithic says I'm in Canada. Yeah, like when I look at my analytics, it shows me what countries people are from, and it's mostly the US. But of course, it's like mostly the English-speaking countries. There are some people that use Spanish subtitles, but just mostly English-speaking people. Okay, it has been 2 hours and 45 minutes. So we've gone longer than normal. If you guys, there's still 30 people on though. So if you have any last minute comments, go ahead and type them now. I'll respond to those. And then if I don't see anything after like a minute or so, I'll wrap everything up. All right, Life of Luke says, I hope you find somewhere safe to live soon. Thank you. Sandra says, hope you will find your answers one day, Mark. Well, yeah, just need to figure out how to get my life stabilized. That's really it. SB, hang in there. Thank you. John Doe, you're sure you can't get a job with your local or state government? I don't really have a local or state government. I don't really live anywhere. I sleep in a different town every night. So, don't really have any ties like that. And Leonard says, hang in there. Neolithic, we were rooting for you, Mark. Keep pushing forward. Awesome, thank you. And I just saw hearts popping up. I don't know if that was your comment or where that came from, but thank you. All right, guys. Well, that was intense. Got some deep introspection there. But here's what I'm planning. Toward the beginning of this video, I told you guys about the videos that I'm planning on putting out. I'm also going to be pretty busy for the rest of the year with the lawsuit, but I will try, no promises, to put more videos out. What I'm really going to try to follow through with, though, is to get the 2 videos at least out in July, and that'll be the 6-month update to the 2023 financial goals and that'll include like where I'm at for saving for an apartment and that kind of stuff. And then the annual update on where my student loans are. And that one, of course, has a lot of changes this year. And by the time I make that, we'll know what the Supreme Court's doing with that, whether we get the forgiveness or not. And I haven't made one of those videos for several years now. So there's going to be a lot of content in that. That should be up. All of those should be up probably sometime in July. We'll do the monthly hangout at the end of July as a live stream as well. And like I said, I do have the one, I filmed all the segments for the next vlog last night and this morning. So I will also try to get that up sometime in July. No promises, but yeah, we'll see. I got to get this discovery completed this week, and then after that, I might have a little bit more time to do it. So that's what's happening, and I will see you guys next month. If you're not watching this live, go ahead and post any comments you have in the actual comments below. I do read through all of them. And thank you again to the 2 people who recently signed up on Patreon. I will be sending a message out to you probably within a week, to get your social media to follow. And if you want me to follow you on social media, or if you want any other benefits, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you again for the $3 super chat. And I will hopefully have another video up for you guys soon.